Welcome to another episode, Black in America. Today I have a co-host and a guest, but he's pretty much a co-host at this point, Deshaun, and I have my guest, John too. Very intelligent young lady, so I guarantee this conversation today is going to be great. Today we're going to be focusing on my blog piece, Black People Must Be Perfect Part 2. In that piece, I really focused on like how Black people are hard on each other, how we don't acknowledge how much we achieved, how much we don't acknowledge what barriers we face to get us to where we need to get. Use various examples to prove that throughout history, even though we've been through so much, we overcame so much, but it's still never good enough for us. And today I want to have a discussion about how come Black people can never just actually acknowledge how much we have done, how much we accomplished, and how come we have to continuously be so hard on each other. And at the end, maybe we can focus on some solutions on how we can still be each other's encouragement and at the same time but criticize each other when it's necessary. So I'm going to start with my guest, and I'm going to start my guest because I don't speak to her as often as I used to, but we used to have conversations, deep conversations all the time. She keeps me on my feet when it comes to these intellectual conversations about Black America, ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves, for anyone who doesn't know. Slavery. And I remember I'm going to start off right away. One of the first things I came to my mind when I asked her to be a guest and I thought about this topic was opportunities for Black people. And I remember a while back, me and her was having a conversation, and I said, sometimes we don't take advantage of our opportunities, and she responded back to me, what opportunities? So I don't know if you remember that conversation too well, but we were talking about basically how come we aren't advanced as far as we should. For the most part, I agree with everything you say. Mm-hmm. We have that little gray area, but you want to expand on your opinion about do you feel like you have opportunities in this country, or you don't feel we have opportunities? You want to expand on that?
Okay, when we say Black people, what Black are we talking about?
You define.
To me, when the phrase in Black in America, I'm thinking ADOS.
Right.
As far as those opportunities, those who descend from American chattel slavery.
Correct.
There's always been obstacles for us when it comes to, after slavery, Jim Crow, mass incarceration, the Black codes, all of that. So that's a hurdle in itself.
Correct.
On top of new foreign Blacks coming in, right? So as a buffer class. So it's well, they're doing this, you guys been here, so you should already be above them. But it's different because, again, we're descended from chattel slavery.
Correct.
With all the hurdles. When you have, immigrants, right, who does not have that history.
Correct.
And they have the education, they have all of that because they don't descend from American chattel slavery, along with everything else that America has done to their, descendants of slaves. So that's the hurdle right there for me. It's like a competition, but it shouldn't be a competition.
You feel there's opportunities for us.
That's what I mean by the competition, because the opportunity, it depends, because we come with so much trauma. It's so much trauma. I was thinking on the way here, just waking up and having to assist with multiple children, getting kids to school, helping your parents out, working early. It's a lot of stuff that we have to deal with. Again, our history in America that others don't, and where other people could say, oh, that's the opportunity you should have, is other layers.
You're going to have to expand on that, because everybody's going to say they got a lot of kids and they got people they got to take care of, so you got to expand on what you mean, the difference.
Okay, so what I mean by, as far as the poverty part, assistant, if one of the parents have to work.
Disproportionate amount of us that live in poverty.
Yes, yes. When we say opportunity, I'm thinking about from poverty up, because if you're middle class or upper middle class, you have more of an opportunity than someone coming from, a lower economic.
SES is what they call a social economic system.
Yes, yeah. So, may sound like I'm rambling. everything.
No,
You
you
know.
good. That's how we do. We just talking. You can relax. You can just talk to us.
But yeah, like I was saying on the way here, I'm like, it's opportunity. Yeah, we do have a free education. We have running water. But it's the other stuff that's a part of poverty that's not taken into consideration when it comes to us. Mm. That we do have opportunities, but it's how do I say it? It's
Can I just say I agree that I tell people all the time there's no other group of people, race of people in this country that fought harder for social justice, racism, all type of hurdles that America has put in place since the founding, since it's been founded, than us, ADOS black people, right? So I think I get the point you're saying is that everything we fought for, we got the least of. So we fought for policies, for laws, for us to have equal footing, equal opportunity. We even were supposed to get reparations at one point, but the slave masters ended up getting it. So a lot of things that we fought for, we never got. And then things that's been in place, like affirmative action, that was supposed to be for us, white women benefit more than anyone else. So I'm guessing like that's somewhat what you're trying to say?
Yeah, on top, a little bit, the opportunity part. More so, yeah, the affirmative action. The conversation of, well, you guys have been here so long, why are you still stuck where you are? Not taking into consideration, like I stated earlier, the barriers as far as, man, it's so much, just even redlining, mass incarceration.
People don't know the real history of
A
America.
lot of people don't know the history of
so
America.
They just look at us like, what was y'all doing here?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I was trying to get out.
I got
so
you.
As far as the opportunity, yeah, there's opportunity. It depends on, I want to say, how you're raised, your situation growing up. That plays a part in it. Your foundation, your support systems. You know, we have a colorful history.
Right.
So all that plays a part in it. So we have opportunity, but do we really have that opportunity that everyone see?
Right.
In America.
Got you. I agree with you. I don't think we do, but I do think there are opportunities we don't take advantage of. And I would say, I'm gonna turn it over to Sean to hear what he has to say, but as I stated in my piece, I definitely feel like others look at us like that, but I feel there's a bunch of us, ADOS, a bunch of us that are very hard on ourselves. Especially, in my opinion, black people that kind of make it, quote unquote, they always look at everyone else who did it and be like, I come from the same thing you come from. So, I like that bothers me, but there's in my opinion, there's a bunch of people like that. So,
and you know what else? I'm sorry for cutting you off. It's funny that you say that because, like, I was having a conversation with my husband, and it goes by generations too. I would say, like, the boomers, they were given a certain opportunity that they were able to take advantage of, and I want to say the Gen Z / early millennials, we had a different opportunity that my children don't have right now. When it comes to like the different organizations, support groups, financially, as far as going to college or whatever you wanted to do, Boys and Girls Club, like it was different programs put in place for us to help us, and it's taken away from them now. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, like Head Start, all that stuff that gave us
a getaway into opening our eyes to different things outside of
the neighborhood that we might have lived in or grew up in. Right. I got you. So I'm gonna turn it over to Sean and hear what he has to say about that.
I do think that black people are hard on each other. We are, and I think that we've been conditioned to be that way, just from the psychological games that colonization and slavery has played on us, and it has left us in this kind of psychological funk where it's hard for us to appreciate things about ourselves. So when we see someone of us of our kind doing well or succeeding or things of that nature, it's easier for us to kind of cut that down and distract from it or detract from it instead of lifting it up, because we've been so fragmented. The goal was to keep us fragmented, so it's hard for us to be whole. And so that just finds its way to play itself out in so many arenas. And I think that's one of the arenas, where we're just hard on each other. Instead of understanding that, when you rise, I rise. When you do well, I do well. And I can find out how you're doing well, and at the same time, to have that reciprocity is that you yourself can those that are rising can reach back and show us, those who aren't rising, how to rise.
Like the W.D. Boys top 10%, the 10%, whatever it's called, not top 10. Yeah, top 10%, where a black person, when they make it, they go back and pull that other 90% with them, so that we all keep getting further and further ahead, which obviously never happened here. Like,
do you guys think it's a class situation, like a class issue, when it comes to
black people?
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I say yes and no. I say I say yes and no, because
like looking down on.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I say yes and no. And my mother always has said that when I was younger, we had moved. She said that black people get to a point where they get comfortable and they think they don't need to do anything else. But I only say no because the saying is, no matter what, you're still a nigga like everybody else. Like, you could be a doctor. So to you and me, oh, he's a successful black person. But to the world, they're not looking at you as a successful black person, especially if you're not famous. Like, they're not saying, oh, that's a PhD in chemistry black person. They're looking at him like, oh, that's just regular Jimmy whoever. You know what I'm saying? So I see it as yes and no. I think it depends on that individual, how aware they are of how society looks at them.
Now, do we care, or should we care about how the world perceive us?
Oh, I know that's her thing. I know that's her thing. I know that's her thing. But no, I say no to an extent, because we have to, because when we go out in the world, we have to be aware of like how we react in certain environments, because that could be life or death for us. So I'm not saying everything we do, because I would go back to my first blog piece. I mean, not first vlog that we did about Black People Being Perfect, part 1, where we have done everything to make white people happy, and nothing works. But to an extent, we have to be alert, and we have to know and care what they think, because that's life or death for us. Like, I can't move how I want in certain areas, because that can send me to jail, that can get me killed, that can get me a rape charge. Like, all those things come with me not being aware of caring about what they think. So to an extent, yeah. Like, if I'm dressed like this walking down the street and they're afraid of me, that's on them. But yeah, I think to an extent we do.
I would ask, what do you mean by that? Like, should we care what others?
Okay, so what I mean when we talk about success, or the way, like he said, oh, no matter what, you could be a doctor, but you're still a nigga. But you're not, right? You rose, you completed all the education you needed to get to the place you are. Like, we should care how we feel amongst each other, like build each other up and have that confidence in each other, and not care about what the next group of people,
non-black people,
think about us. No, Because
this piece is particularly talking about how But you're saying non-black people, you shouldn't care what non-black people think.
So yeah, and I definitely agree with that. And I think with that, I'm not going to say but, because when you say but, it seems like you're saying I don't agree with that. But, so I agree with that for sure. Definitely, I don't think we should, because we talked about that before in the first blog. I definitely like we've been playing that game far too long.
Yeah, you went in on that.
But I think at the same time, we should also think globally, and that's something different. But what I mean is that we live in a global world, and I think that if we could ever wrap our heads around the fact that of this global thing, then it would kind of be a projectile of where we need to go. We just don't want to be successful as a subset of people in this country, but we want to be successful to the point that as a subset group in this country, we can play on the global community.
That makes sense.
You know, we can function on a global community.
Because we're moving towards a global economy, so that does make sense. But
without losing our identity, without being who we are.
Selling out.
Yeah.
But so then your question kind of is interesting because it brings me something that Malcolm X said, which would kind of touch upon this subject in a major way. Black people judging black people, or black people being hard on black people. Whose measure of success are we saying is successful?
Right.
So like you're saying, like a PhD, he's not a nigga because he completed school, this and that. Does that make him a better person than me as somebody who doesn't have a PhD, but is still very productive in society, contributing to society? So who determines what level of success is success when it comes to us?
So that's why I asked about the class situation. That brings the class situation in.
Okay.
I definitely think for me, I think at the end of the day, classism is that foundation that all of this sits on. It's managed because of the history of this country and everything that went around with it in the transatlantic slave trade. It gets funneled through racism, colorism, but I think at the end of the day, it's classism. Because if you were to pull the veneer back of racism, pull the veneer back of colorism, you're gonna go, oh my God! At the end of the day, it's classism. That's what's there.
I want to say amongst us because I'm like the poor people's champion, right? Like I advocate for, the people that other people, like you say, as far as opportunities.
Right.
I get you just make excuses for them.
Right.
But I'm not making excuses. It's other factors that plays parts in different situations, in different families, in different.
Absolutely.
So
that people don't consider.
Right.
Like, I think people think not to put my mom out there, but she actually one of the reasons I started writing this blog, because I think my mom, for example, was someone who grew up poor, yada yada. She became successful, whatever, and she's very hard on black people about not making excuses on why you can't obtain something. That's fair enough, right? But as I got older, going back to what you said, it made me realize that I don't know, because I started to study society more, working where we work, that it's not a cookie cutter. So it's just like, okay, y'all can both be poor, from the same neighborhood, grew up in a single, y'all can have all that in common, but that doesn't mean that mental health didn't play a role in your house, and substance abuse didn't play a role in your house, or you was molested in your house, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, or you had the rich aunt that came and got you on the weekends, that took you somewhere where your crackhead aunt, you had to watch because she come and steal your stuff. So, I mean, it becomes complicated, but I don't think a lot of people who become successful look at it like that. I think they look at just what we had in common, instead of looking at, okay, you had a lot in common, but there was a lot you didn't have in common.
Right.
Which usually separates that person who wasn't successful versus that person being successful. So I definitely agree to that extent. But to take it a step further, so we talked about non-black people not knowing our history, but how about, for example, us? Because I'm not one of the black people that be like, as far as we've came, as much as we accomplished, I'm not one of those black people like, oh, we made it. I understand we're still on the bottom of everything negative. What I mean by that is mass incarceration, poverty, education. Unfortunately, we're still on the bottom of a lot of that. So I can't say it like say, like even Dr. Claude Anderson says that right after slavery, Reconstruction period, we own 1% of wealth. Today, we own 1% of wealth. So I'm not one of the black people who's going to look at TV to tell me how far we advanced or brainwash me to think how far we advanced. Right. But how come other black people who know history, some of our grandparents, their generation, the boomers, how come they can't seem to understand, like, you can't keep, either one of you can answer, how come they can't seem to understand, like, yo, you're being really hard on them and not acknowledging the barriers they face
Because as they get older, they seem to forget the past, right? They seem to forget the struggle and the obstacles that they've had. It's, again, like I said, it was different opportunities through different generations. Like our generation, my kids' generation, they not only we grew up, the crack epidemic and stuff just started,
Mm-hmm.
So by the time my younger brothers and sisters, it was there. So now not only are you dealing with the substance abuse, you're dealing with the police knocking down doors, you're dealing with drugs. It's like a lot that you're dealing with. So those same elders played a part in that some ways, but then as they get older, they forget about certain things. So let's say they get their life together, and now you can look down like,
Because save people sometimes in the church. They sometimes be the ones that be like the hardest, and then somebody like, so-and-so's in prison for 20 years.
Right, and I'm like, you should understand, but I don't know. It's like as they get older, it's like you never made those mistakes, you never had those obstacles, and you just have no sympathy for the next people coming up, the next generations coming up. And that's just for the, I always get on the boomers, but
I got issues with the boomers though.
So you saying that like the boomer generations, like grandparents' generations,
they
that
was
they
doing some things.
but that they look down on that, like they look down on the struggle, or like what is it exactly?
See, this is the thing. I kind of have to agree with the four, kind of, and this is maybe even my great grandparents' generation.
I was gonna say, well, I just need an understanding on what you're saying, like. What is it that they do? Like they're looking down?
Oh, they're always telling us that
judging
that we need to be doing better, that we need to take advantage of this, we need to take advantage of that. We couldn't vote, now y'all can, y'all don't. Like just always finding like the little loose ends or something to point out what we not doing.
But we do vote.
But because we want to talk about that. But to take it a step further, the only thing I would kind of agree with them about, and I am disappointed in us as a people overall about this, is that after slavery, when like early 1900s, there was just a lot of successful black people, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of successful black neighborhoods. These are people that was born slaves, parents were born slaves, that were educated, born a slave, became educated, became politicians, businessmen, all that, right?
But what was the percentage of that?
It was quite a bit. They owned a lot of land. It was quite a bit. They got us in the history books on the TV, always looking like, no. There was that, but they never. Honestly, they never showed in history when it comes to black people back in the early 1900s. They will never show all the successful black people. They
Reconstruction, like those 20 years within Reconstruction.
I would say that period up until just so everybody has a good idea, like 1920s when Black Wall Street, so almost everybody knows about that. So around that time,
but you has Jim Crow times too, right?
Yeah. So I'm saying but at that time, 1920s, their parents more than likely was a slave at that time. So their first generation, or someone they still old enough to be born a slave and still became successful. So I'm not saying all of them, but what I'm saying is this: going through all of that, how come with the little opportunities they had, they were able to go ahead and advance themselves, but us having way more opportunities, technically, we don't seem to become as successful as them.
Okay, let's talk about generational wealth, right? Because that plays a part in it.
Absolutely.
Maybe we're talking about these successful people. How long do you think that success lasted when you're in competition with non-black people?
It didn't last long because neighborhoods were destroyed by the Ku Klux.
So what happens?
Government,
so what
all the
happens?
highways,
You don't get your
generational wealth.
It stops. Okay.
But does that take away?
Wait. So even when my people migrated to Newark, I just found this out. Like my great grandfather owned a house over there on Miller Street. And I think about my parents, and I'm like, when the riots happened, when all this stuff happened, everything was
burned down.
And nothing was replaced.
Right.
So where others are able to build that generational wealth, we would stun it
Right.
in every generation.
That's true. I agree with you on that.
Every generation. So we could look at other people and be like, oh, they just came here. Even like my grandfather fought in the Korean War. He was a firefighter.
Right.
He come home and he gets nothing.
Right.
When other people
Got the GI
come,
Bill.
yeah, they
Stuff
get
like
all of that.
Right.
We didn't get that.
Right.
He deserved that, but he didn't get that.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Imagine what that would have looked like for my family.
Well, that actually, well,
right.
when he did his piece, when we went to Virginia for my family. Oh, she's a Kelly, by the way.
I'm talking about the Kellys.
Yeah,
okay.
That's what's up. We call each other cousin.
Okay.
But I'm a Kelly too for everybody to know. But my grandfather, he fought in World War II, and he got this little house in Virginia, the one we're at, off the GI Bill. But he was one of statistics show. He's like 1%, and that did help us. Like not us, but my family at the time. That little bit did help them, especially my grandfather had a 6th grade education. So, and he lived in the Jim Crow South. So there's only so much opportunity he's going to get.
Right.
I guess I'm looking at it as I agree with everything you're saying. I look at it as though, but we still have. I think we still have more room though. Like to build. I think we learned what didn't work for them. We learned what didn't work from our parents. We saw history repeat itself. How come we aren't playing chess? I guess is my question. And I will say this. And in all fairness, I think forced integration was one of the biggest failures for black people in America. I think forced integration, and what I mean by that for people who watch and don't understand forced integration is what I mean when they say, okay, now black people just don't got to go to poor all black schools anymore, or sit in the back of the bus. It gave us the idea that we were kind of equal and we were excited to be in that world, whereas it took away from a lot of black-owned businesses. It hurt strictly black colleges, so it hurt a lot of black-owned black establishments. That's that black-owned black. What I say? It hurt a lot of black establishments.
You don't think that was by design?
I don't think people asked me that before. I don't know if a part of me says no, and part of me says yeah.
Because how many stores did we really have?
We had quite a bit.
We did have quite a bit.
Where?
But-
Like regional areas. Like, okay, so, right, I'm about to get to something. So you're saying that we had quite a bit. Now, the majority, all right, the white people, it's not a sense of jealousy there because you're providing this and I can have this too, so I can take this from you. No, as far as you said businesses, right?
Yeah.
We had businesses, and you said forced integration.
Right. I think definitely hurt black business.
All right. So those successful businesses, how long do you think they lasted? Through generations?
They did though.
Oh, okay.
Hey, when you do that, they did.
No, I said okay. I said okay.
I know when you do that, he's like,
Okay.
Wait, what's your take?
No, I was just going to say that something that she had brought in, which I do think that, I think the whole forced integration thing, it kind of took away from us the impetus to strive as a people group, to be better as a people group. I think it kind of laxed us into where if I could sit on the bus next to John, Johnny and Peter, then I must be doing better now, and so I could see a black store and I could see a white store where she said it's by design, where I think design has played a part is because under the already existing paradigm, what's white is better.
Right? Or they got more
varieties, or it's cheaper, so all those things. So and so for a status, I'm going to walk past that black store and go to that white store because I got this. Well, I got my coat from Mr. Brown down the street. Well, I got mine from the white guy,
Jonathan.
Yes, So and so we took status in being able to integrate. It's kind of like dulled our senses to being a people group who could self-identify themselves and just begin to or allow ourselves to continue to progress as a people group.
Now, were we ever integrated though? Like 100?
No, of course not. No, of course not. I don't. No, of course not.
No. But I think more or less though we were forced into a society. At the end of the day, we weren't accepted into. We weren't accepted. So at the end of the day, like I think it was enough of an impact to actually hurt us. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, because you walked into that like you walked into that white store. And you didn't get any better service than you got at the black store. You got worse service.
Right.
They looked down at you. They didn't really want your money and things of that nature.
Right.
But somehow it made us feel good, you know.
Right.
And I mean, I'm speaking in the plural, but I don't think it was conscious. I don't think it was everybody, but enough of us.
Majority. Yeah. And to just go back to Virginia again, when my family were telling stories about how when they was at the old black school that didn't have no heat, and my aunt ended up being the first principal at the newly black school. The white kids wouldn't let them at the they would let the black kids at the white school, but then they got built. The black school got a new building which was more modern and better than the white kids school. So then the white kids went to the all black school because it was a newer building. That in a way hurt people like my aunt because she was a principal at the all black school. Now once these white kids come, her status is going to change automatically.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I hear black people who grew up in the South who say like, yeah, the facility was bad, like facilities was bad, like the building was bad, the poor conditions, but they said the education these teachers really taught them. As when they went to when integration started, they went to school white people, they said the education wasn't the same. Even though they had better building, better books, they said the teachers did not treat them.
Because they didn't relate to them. And so I thought we wanted separate but equal. And that was changed into integration. We wanted our own stuff. Like we're paying taxes.
Right.
We're paying taxes. We're working. We're doing this.
We've been paying taxes in this country.
Separate but equal. Right. We should get the same new books that they get.
Right.
It wasn't saying that we want to be with them.
Right, exactly.
No, that's what it's cheaper or whatever that system was to make it.
I think
y'all come over here, be blessed with us.
But I think that's what.
But they don't be blessed with us.
I agree with everything you're saying, but I never really was at the majority at that time. Like I think Jim Crow said separate but equal, but I don't think. Of course, black people that obviously saw this as separate, but it's not equal. But I'm not sure if all these black people back then agreed with the completely being separate. You know what I'm saying?
I thought that's how the civil rights movement started.
No, Jim Crow said separate. Jim Crow said separate.
No, I'm talking about like when we was fighting for that was a part of the civil rights. Like we want the same amount that they have.
I think
you're violating my civil rights.
And that's where I always
taxes. I'm doing this.
I get what you.
Why we gotta sip on?
And that's why I always got lost at. No,
and
that's why I got lost at. I don't think there was ever a clear consensus of what we wanted overall at that time, in my opinion. And it looked like all the people who had like the spotlight on them were going towards the integration. And whoever's the loudest is going to win. But I think I always got in a gray area with that, like the separate equal, yeah. But then there were people who came along and said, "No, forget that separate equal. We're not getting anything equal, so we need to just." Basically, we deserve what they have. Like you said, we're paying taxes on everything they're doing. Why can't we have the same thing they had? But not to be a dead horse with this too long, but it goes on to something else I wrote about. I think we have to look at that. Where in the world, right? Follow me for a second. I know you ADOS hard. But where in the world, period, are black people, even in the native countries, successful? Where does that even happen? So I think that it's unfair that we look at each other like we need to do this and that, when we can just see it's not by design. It's not meant for us to succeed.
Yeah,
because where in the world can you go where you're going to see a large concentration of black people and a bunch of them just like living the best life? I think people don't think that. I think because people really get this America thing caught in their head. Like, this is the country of this, is the country of that. Y'all been here for 200, 300, 400 years and ain't done nothing yet. But hold up, how many places are there where you're the native of that country and it's in bad condition? So how can you blame us for just like being here, not being successful, with all over the world? No matter where you're at, there's no success
when there's a large concentration of us? I don't think people ever thought of that.
So why not ask those questions?
Because it's
You have
considered
people.
offensive. That's why.
It's not. They could say y'all need to be doing better.
Right?
So you should be able to ask that question. Again,
You can
let's
call a
talk
skinny
about
person skinny, but you can't call a fat person
Let's-
fat. I mean,
let's-
like,
Let's dive into that. You come from a country where it's, you is a large population of other indigenous or black people, and then you
Right.
come to America, but you make it seem like your country you're coming from is not racist or treat the natives like they do us here. You make it seem like y'all one big happy family there. So people gotta start being honest.
I
get what I'm saying?
I get completely what you're saying, but I get lost in that because I don't understand how everybody can see that's the common factor. Like, I don't understand, like, why.
Class.
But I think it has to do with, like, like, America, like, Europe, like, portraying, like, to the world, like, if you don't make it here, there's something wrong with you. Like, it's okay if you don't make it in Africa. It's okay if you don't make it in Brazil. It's okay if you don't make it in Jamaica. That's fine. Cool. But if you're a black person and you don't make it in America, and you don't make it in France, you don't make it in Australia, there's something wrong with you. I just feel that's what's pushed out there, and people eat it up like, yeah, it's true. It's like, it's an excuse. It's like, you don't have to make it here, but you gotta make it here.
But do you think we get their native, the people that's from the countries, South America, Brazil, all those places, do you think we get those people immigrating here, or you think we're getting the higher socioeconomic people that's immigrating here to look down and say, oh, y'all should be doing this, y'all should be doing that, because they're coming from a different place?
And that's a lot of layers.
Class.
It is class. That's a lot of layers.
So-
Because a lot of countries people migrate here is usually not like, well, I should say if they migrate illegally, it's not usually
I'm talking about
the
the
bottom.
legal way.
Huh?
The legal way.
Yeah, it's not usually the bottom, not the bottom class. Usually not the poor.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them have some kind of pull, some type of money, whatever. But I guess I mean, minus all of that, I just look at it. How do people not see that commonality? How do people not realize, like, it's not a coincidence if you look around the world, 95% of the places where black people live in large concentrations, that it is like they're not good living conditions. 95% of the places where white people live at large concentrations is like the best, or best living conditions. So I just don't get like why we're so hard on each other when we can't see that this is like a global problem, as you would say, or you were saying, versus like just a black American problem.
Do you think it's because low self-esteem, like to keep the
don't-
low self-esteem?
I don't know. I don't know the
Listen.
answer. I don't know. That's something I wonder. What is your take on it?
My take on it is colonization has worked a doozy, bro. Like, colonization it is one of the most successful, evil institutions that has put its tentacles across the globe, and it has a stranglehold. And no matter, I mean, and they control so much of how things get interpreted, how things get played out, that they can make you think, oh, it's working out for my good, and in the background you realize it ain't. At the end of the day, it's just another smokescreen. You know? So, I mean, for me, I think, colonization has done more damage than, if you think about it, that's why they're fighting so hard to have that kind of stuff not taught in the school system.
Critical race theory.
Yeah, because because two things are going to happen. First of all, you're going to see just how evil that system is, in its nature. It's just intrinsically evil. I don't care. They can put the name Jesus on it all they want. It's just intrinsically evil. Right. And I'm a Christian. I'm a pastor. But you can put the white Jesus on it as much as you want and spread that all across the globe and talk about what Jesus Christ has done. But just because you've done that, it doesn't raise colonization out of the gutter. It's in the gutter. Right. And then the second thing is that maybe if people start understanding the grip of colonization and how it hasn't gone nowhere, it's just got on different clothes and and moving differently, but it's still the same thing.
Yeah.
Then maybe we could actually kind of fight against it.
I tell people all the time, because they're always, I hear people mention 2050, America's supposed to be majority minority, but I tell people all the time, that, I tell people all the time though, white supremacy can be in a room full of people and not one white person in there.
Mm-hmm.
You would still practice white supremacy.
Come on, bro.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
So you could have,
For sure.
you got 50 type of
That's what I'm talking
non-black
about.
people in the room, black people and other people of color, whatever you want to say. Not one white person would be in that room, and you would still practice white supremacy.
That's what I'm talking about.
And I don't think that people understand that.
That's the effects
I
of
really don't.
colonization.
I really don't. And unfortunately, I think it's gonna be here to stay for a while.
Yeah.
Because it's so deeply rooted into all of us, yo.
But you know what? You say that 2050, just like America could make anybody white, the status.
Yeah, they are.
So, they made Italians white, they made the Germans, the
Polish,
the
Irish.
Jewish.
Yeah.
They're making Asians white now.
Yeah.
So who?
Right?
Yeah, Egyptians.
Hispanics white?
Yeah. Right.
So
Yeah,
they can say their numbers, but again,
that's false. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you know who you really are,
but you got that status though.
Yeah.
You got the status. That's fine. You got
Bro, you got that status.
You got that status.
And if that status,
That's all that
can make
matters.
you look better than the next person who don't got that status, trust me, you going for it, bro.
And that's my point, though. That's white supremacy.
Yeah.
That's my point. So you can put them in a room,
Yeah.
and they're not white. They're, let's say, Egyptian or whatever, or Asian. With that, you're practicing white supremacy. You're technically not white, but you're practicing the theory, the supremacy that we're taught. So I think
black people can practice that amongst themselves.
We are
do.
though.
We do, for sure.
we do. We're speaking English right now.
Yeah.
Like, my name is Jonathan. We found out my fourth grandfather was a slave master. That's where I got my last name from. So,
Right.
I mean, it doesn't get really any white supremacist than that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That. Come on, man. But so I did want to touch upon that. I'm gonna close out talking about this. So I was. This is a sensitive subject, but it's not. I'm glad you're here for it.
Oh God.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to write my next blog piece more about this because I'm really tired of black people and Democrats. I really am at this point. But voting, voting. So we all know that it was controversial when Trump got elected. Last presidential, well, I shouldn't say last presidential election. The election before that, he was elected, and towards the end, it got really heated among different racial groups because they were saying he didn't like so-and-so, why were certain people voting for him? But I remember those 4 years, I was getting so mad because black people kept getting blamed for Trump being in office.
And we ain't have nothing to do with that.
And the thing was crazy, but we got blamed because they're saying we didn't come out and this is black people I kept hearing saying this. Of course, mainstream went with it, but I'm hearing black people say Trump got elected because we didn't come out in the numbers we should have to vote for them.
Black people was following the mainstream, not the mainstream following black
Honestly,
people.
I heard black people saying this before mainstream. I heard black people saying in circles. I don't. This is my circles or whatever. I'm hearing black people say we didn't come out in the number we supposed to come out. We didn't vote in the number we supposed to. That's why Trump got elected. In the meantime, nobody held any other group of race of people accountable for voting in the numbers they did for Trump. Then to go a step further, black men caught mad heat from black women, but black men caught mad heat because we didn't vote for Hillary Clinton in a high percentage that they did, but black men voted for Hillary Clinton more than any other group of men, any other racial group of men. Black men voted for her. And black men have voted for Democrats higher than any other race of men. We consistently been faithful to the Democratic Party overall as a people, but I got frustrated because I'm like, yo, how are we catching heat for certain people wanting an office?
But you don't think that's propaganda?
I don't care what it is. It's,
No, seriously, because that's what.
but propaganda usually isn't like. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
What I see, again, we be in different circles. Like I was telling you, no, we getting better. Like when it comes to certain things, because in my feed, my circles, we're like ready. We're like, okay, if you can't offer us nothing, we're not here for, oh, just because you're Democrat, vote blue no matter who. No, you need to bring substance. You need to bring tangibles, or like, I'll be honest. I told you, like, I voted Democrat down ballot. Like, I voted for my local.
You gotta explain.
I looked into.
You gotta explain what down ballot mean.
Okay, so I just left the top of the ticket, the presidential ticket. I just left that blank. Although I voted for my Congress person, and it was like the sheriff.
Local officials.
Yeah, the local officials.
Yeah.
So yeah, my vote counted, but they need to see that us as a people who have been voting Democrat for what, the past 60, 65 years?
Whoa, stop. Yeah.
And we still in the same place?
Maybe plan this out. Biden, the perfect example.
Vote, and not by not just voting, not just by not voting.
Right.
But if you are voting your locality, your vote is being counted. But the numbers at the top of the ticket said something different. Right, so you're still voting, but you're not giving me my group anything. I'm not voting for you. I have no reason to vote for you.
Right.
So my group is spaces that I'm in.
No, I'm actually saying that
That's
more.
Yeah.
That's we're not.
No, I'm saying that more. Black people are fed up, and I think that's why black people didn't vote that time Trump and Hillary Clinton was running, because black people like neither one of y'all are really for us, and it was obvious that neither one of them. We got full with Joe Biden, but Hillary Clinton, black people was like, nah, no, and they knew Donald Trump was a force, so they was like, nah. But at the end of the day, though, it's so frustrating because I caught mad heat. I did down ballot for Hillary Clinton. I'm not gonna say what I did. I ain't gonna lie. I did down ballot both past two presidential elections. I ain't gonna lie.
I wish I would have known.
I didn't vote for Joe Biden. I'm glad I did it. Oh, I'm so glad I voted for him. And I didn't vote for him.
Vindicated.
I can't blame me for none of this stuff. I didn't vote for him or Donald Trump, either one of the elections.
Right.
Everybody's saying you voted for Donald Trump since you didn't vote at all, or it's because you, Donald Trump, won. People were saying this to me, and I'm just like, yo,
MAGA.
I'm like,
I was called MAGA. John too called MAGA.
Yo,
me.
It was. I guess that's why I'm taking this more a little more like personal. And
black male.
Well, I caught heat twice because I caught heat once because I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton, so I was called a sexist. I was called I'm not with the feminists. I was called all kind of
stuff.
stuff.
But you can't be bullied into your vote, like you were saying. Other groups, they get to choose and freely.
They absolutely do.
But
this is my point. Why? Everything we just said. How are we still getting blamed for elections?
Because we're the scapegoat. We're always going to be the scapegoat. We're the bottom caste. They blame everything.
But why are we blaming everything on us?
Because they're
the colonized mind, bro.
That's the answer to everything.
They got that mind control, like the boogeyman. I don't know. I just think we need to step away from the Democrats right now and then just focus on,
economics.
your group.
Yeah, and you know what, and that's a good point. And I know this isn't a political discussion, but I would love to just talk to black people about what do we do where we clearly know that this two-party system isn't working for us as a people. Do we just practice not voting for a president, or is there an alternative to where somebody from our community rises up and is it at a grassroots level where we get a groundswell and then a leader ahead comes out and that's somebody that we can vote for who represents the people, where the people has to say and he is truly for the people? Or even if we do that, do we have enough numbers as people in this country, as black people in this country, to even make a dent, to make a difference, to make it even a reality that we can actually put our own person in office?
We don't have collective economics. I don't think it's the numbers. Because there's a lot of minorities that are pushing, their agendas are getting pushed, but they have collective economics. They come together, have one agenda, and they push it to these politicians with some money, and they get hurt. But to go back, that's just my opinion, but to go back a little bit to what you were saying, I forgot. You said something. I was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna get on it." I know you want to. Dang.
Building from grassroots.
Yes, thank you. The grassroots. The only issue I have with I love
They gonna whisper in their ear.
right. The issue I have with grassroots, because
before us.
Obama started off as grassroots.
Yeah.
The issue that I have, Black Lives Matter, you see, was grassroots. The issue I have with grassroots is that when it comes to black people is that we don't have the finances to kind of dictate what we want. So other people know that and they take advantage of it. And once they take advantage of it, we start going like this. And I'm for grassroots.
True.
But I hate seeing all the time like we start like this
Yeah.
and then
Then
it just
meanders.
slowly becomes
Yeah.
like that. And I think that in order for us to be true grassroots, I don't think it has to be kind of like the Black Panthers where we don't necessarily get involved with politics. We focus on
But you have to get involved with politics because that's where the money is.
No. Okay, so thank you for calling me out on that. So maybe I shouldn't say get involved with politics, but Black Panthers didn't focus on politics. Black Panthers focus more on like their community, recruiting people in their neighborhoods.
But you need money, right? You're in America. You need money.
I know. I'm not gonna knock that part out, but I don't. What I'm saying is that grassroots, I don't think we should just grassroots grow into focusing on politics. I don't think we should do that.
I get that. I think it
Okay.
could be a twofold. Like one, it doesn't have to be just one way. You could do two things at one time, right? So we can have that group that's and you can have the politics and the grassroots organizing,
Right.
Because economically, you need money.
Right.
Like I said earlier, our wealth was taken away from us,
Right.
and we're trying
Starting
to
over
do
every
something. And we're
generation.
like, how many generations behind?
But
So-
that's can I just say like that's never worked. Like
But we never tried it.
no, there has been that grassroots like Black Lives Matter is one of them.
We know what happened.
We know
with
how
that.
we feel about it, but we can't say that we're.
No, we
can't
know
s-
what happened with that. It was taken from
That's my point.
something.
That's my point, though. So I think other than I can't really think of any other group besides maybe the Black Panthers, maybe I can't really think of any other group.
Because I don't think it has ever been a group where
No.
it's not.
I think there's been groups to try what you tried, like Slick, Civil Rights Movement. Those all
But
started.
that money came from somewhere else where you had to do their bidding for them.
Control,
So
yeah.
I got you. So
You
you're
didn't
basically saying we
control.
have to. Okay, so when you say so maybe I'm misunderstanding. So when you say we have to do both, you're saying we have to rate we have to focus on our economics so that we can give to these grassroots.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And when I say we need
misunderstood you.
politics, is you being politically engaged, you get money.
I got
like
you.
all these
Okay.
groups are getting money
Right.
because they're being represented.
Basically, what Dr. Claude Anderson usually be saying.
Probably.
That's what he usually says. Okay,
So
I misunderstood
So you have to be politically involved when it comes to your group because if you're not advocating for your group, how you gonna get money?
No.
Somebody got to be there to
Right.
do that
Right.
advocacy.
Oh, can I say? Okay, can I say this? There is, and I don't want to say the group because it may be taken as a negative, but it's considered a positive. There's a group of people who actually are economically successful, and people don't really bother them about politics because they have the economics. So it's like, can't you do that? Can't you just focus on the economics, and then when you want something, you're just like, this is what we want,
They
but
also
you're
have
not.
countries backing them.
Boom, got me.
Yeah.
Got me.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
descend from slavery, chattel
We
slavery.
have no real. I got you. Okay. All right.
So that's why we have to. All right, we 65 years in. Maybe my grandkids' generation will be somewhere, somewhere
I think it's gonna be
across
worse.
the needle.
That's when we disagree.
And so
I think it's gonna be worse.
that's why we need. And I tell you that that's why we need to start. Trying to fix some of the things, the civil rights. A little
Our voice is
differently.
going to be less in 50 years.
A little differently. Hopefully not. That's why you say grassroots, right?
Everything's showing that it is though. Our numbers as a people will be lower, or I should say our percentage. Our economics is showing that we'll have
That's
no
why
wealth.
we're fighting for reparations. We need that.
I agree with you 100%, but let's say we don't have it though.
But we got to keep fighting for it.
Oh, I got it. I'm with you, but I'm just going off of let's just go off of today. We
Okay,
don't
because we're
have
going
it.
to be done.
We don't have it.
We're going to be done as a group. But I think that's the plan to starve us out because you can't send us anywhere.
Where do we go from here? As a people, where do we go from here? because we see everything we've been doing to each other hasn't been working out too well, as far as like pointing the fingers at what we're not doing and not acknowledging what we are doing and not acknowledging the external factors out there that's been the barriers, as you said several times. But so where do we go from here?
Oh, you want me to go first?
Either one of them.
I think one of the things that we have to be careful to do is not allow division among ourselves. We can't let different parts of our people group become made the enemy or made the object of the reason why we are where we are. You know, because that doesn't. At the end of the day, that's not going to benefit our plight. It's just going to keep us where we are. And I mean, there's so many different things that we can touch on. I think one of the things to touch on is I think as a people group, we should if we could stop being consumer minded. You know, here's what I mean by that. Like for instance, if we see development happening, like ground being broken up and their property being built and things of that nature. Our thing is we want to wait until they finish building up all the property. It looks all beautiful and this and that. And then we want to go and we want to purchase and say, look what I got. Instead of understanding that before they start laying out the roads, when it's just dirt and earth and they're chopping it up and they're getting ready to lay out, that's the time when we need to be capturing all of these properties and things of that nature and creating this wealth that allows us to have revenue and things of that nature, so that it's just not about look what I got, but it's now what I've invested in, what I have as revenue, and what we can continue to have as just growing wealth within our people. So I mean, it's hard to just say. I don't. For me, anyway, I can't find just one, end all to be all of. If you do this, that'll solve all the problems. So I think that each of us here can offer something in a certain aspect, where we can just pull up our pants legs and make things happen.
Okay. Chantel?
I think we can continue having conversations with our people to help build up their self-esteem. Because it's a lot of things that they're not aware of that they could be prideful of. So if you keep having those conversations, recommend some books to read, start their consciousness regarding our plight in America and the different things that happen, then that will fuel the fire to get involved in, again, politics.
I think that's beautiful. That's great.
I'm going to push it, politics. Jonathan?
Well, just so I can fit off with that, I think that's great because that's one of the things that I do with my channel. My YouTube channel is that I try to just, as a people group, to give us something that we can be, like, if we hate ourselves, if we hate our own history and we hate our own heritage, the hope is gone, so we can just find that and be able to build us up in our own history, our own identity, then, it allows us other platforms.
I actually agree with both of y'all, and I think it's a combination. It's hard, but the combination I think will excel us pretty far. I think that education is very important, very, very important. I think we just don't know enough about ourselves and what we're capable of doing, and I think we're always relying. Like, one of the things that frustrate me most about Black people is a big Malcolm X fan. Anybody knows that, who knows me, is that he always says like you're waiting for the same people that's oppressing you to give you freedom. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, you have to find a way to just start to navigate so that you can lift yourselves up, so we can lift one another up. Waiting for freedom or begging for freedom or keep, just asking for it or keep, waiting for it. It's not going to happen. So I think the combination of educating ourselves of who we really are, supporting each other, helping each other out, and also focusing on economics, finding some way for our wealth not to keep getting destroyed every time we build it, because that consistently happens. We've seen that. Nobody can deny that. We should have way, way more than we do. I actually wrote in my first, my first piece, Black People Have to Be Perfect, Part 1, I said that as long as we've been in this country, as much as we have, almost all black families will be million or billionaires. Easily.
Uncomfortable.
Easily. And I use that example of how that family just got Manhattan Beach back in California. That land is worth $75 million. That family got more than that if they was able to keep that family. I mean, keep that land over the generations or over the decades. But right now, let's just say today that they're worth $75 million just based off of that land. So I think we have to understand like how important economics is. We have to find a way to stop getting it stolen from us, stop letting people come and hustle us and take it away from our community, and we have to educate. So I actually...
And that's where the politics come in, because if you have mandates...
I'm sorry, I didn't miss out. I didn't
if you have mandates to prevent that from happening,
right,
that would secure us as well, because you can build and then they could come and take and there's no repercussion.
Right. We have to have politicians that actually going to support us, not just be the politician because like I'm the mayor of this town, but actually like no, I'm protecting what's in this town.
We can define what we mean by politics. Right.
So it's like a lot of other communities, like we don't have police. Like if you go to like, for example, right now we're in Elizabeth, right? A lot of the police don't necessarily reflect the population of this town, but if you go to Westfield, if you go to Cranford, any of those towns, the police are going to reflect the population of the town. The mayor is going to reflect the population of that town. Everything in certain neighborhoods reflect the population of the people who live there. So, but when it comes to us, for some reason, that's considered reverse racism, or we're not going to be able to maintain this and that. A million excuses come up. So I think that's not segregation, but that's what everybody else does. We know that nobody's going to look after you better than you. That's just how it is. Like,
and don't be afraid to advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
In your group, because it's not racist. Like you said, reverse. No, other people
they
are
do
advocating, and then in this day and age, we can't afford to care about what other people think in that aspect.
Right.
I agree.
We can't afford it.
Right, to our own detriment. We can't. Yeah, I agree with that.
So that concludes this piece. Before I head out, I want to give Deshaun the opportunity. Go ahead and shoot your blog, your blog and your vlog sites out.
You can follow me on IG at Deshaun. That's DISHAWNJG at Deshaun JG. My website, you can find my blogs. That's myancestrychronicles.com. And please subscribe and like and share my YouTube channel, My Ancestry Chronicles with Deshaun J. Gandy.
This guy, he's a beast with tracing the roots, man. He done found all my slave master grandfathers, man. I had to tell him to stop looking at my family history, man.
You got 2 new customers.
And Jatu, you got anything? Nah, you good? No, you want your IG? You want to?
I don't need all them fans.
Oh. All right. Okay. All right. So thanks for joining us once again. Follow my blog site, Black in America, America with a K. Well, AMERIC. No. Oh my goodness.
You get the side with a K.
Yeah. With a K. Replace the C with the K in America. Let me just say that. BlackAmerica.com. Thank you.